The attic was silent, the kind of silence that clung to forgotten things. Dust swirled as Emma lifted the lid of the cardboard box, its edges brittle with age. And there it was, a small, moldy Hello Kitty bowl, its cheerful pink faded to a ghostly pale. Her breath hitched. 3 years. 3 years since Rehea, bright-eyed, always laughing, the pageant darling of their small town, had vanished without a trace. No calls. No notes. Just an empty bedroom and a half-eaten bowl of cereal left on the kitchen counter. Now, here was that same bowl, hidden away where no one would think to look. A chilling question lingers: how could a little girl disappear, only for her favorite bowl to surface years later, tucked in the shadows of an attic? Rehea grinning, her tiny hands clutching the Hello Kitty bowl as she giggles over breakfast. The contrast is stark innocence, then absence. If you're drawn to stories where the truth hides in plain sight, where even a child's cereal bowl can crack a case wide open, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Rehea Carlilele was born to be seen. At just 7 years old, she had the kind of smile that made judges lean forward in their seats, sparkling eyes, dimples that deepened when she laughed, and a natural charm that turned local pageants into her spotlight. Trophies lined the shelves in the Carlilele home, each one polished to a gleam. Winner. Star. Darling. Castle Rock, Colorado, was the kind of town where everyone knew your name, and your business. Quaint storefronts, neatly trimmed lawns, and a sense of safety so ingrained that parents still let their kids bike home after dusk. On the surface, it was perfect. But perfection has weight. Every morning, Rehea would pad into the kitchen in her pajamas, her tiny hands reaching for her favorite Hello Kitty cereal bowl. It was a ritual, the clink of the spoon, the way she traced the cartoon cat's bow with her thumb while she ate. Something so ordinary, yet now, it's the detail that claws its way back. Her parents, Emma and David, were the picture of devotion. Emma sewed sequins onto Rehea's gowns until her fingers ached. David worked overtime to fund the pageant fees. They smiled for the cameras, nodded at the whispers, that family's going places, but behind closed doors, the pressure simmered. Castle Rock adored its golden girl, and the Carlileles were determined to keep her shining. Then there was Ryan, David's younger brother, the uncle who'd swoop in like a gust of fresh air. He'd let Rehea ditch the hairspray and tiaras, taking her for ice cream instead of coaching sessions. "Kids gotta breathe," he'd say, ruffling her curls. But even Ryan couldn't shield her from the expectations piling up like unread rulebooks. They said she was born to shine, but no one saw the darkness just above their heads. October 1994. The crowd erupted as Rehea's name was called, another crown, another ribbon, another photo for the Carlilele scrapbook. She beamed under the stage lights, her tiny hands clutching the trophy like it was the most natural thing in the world. Born to shine. That night, the house buzzed with celebration. Emma fussed over the victory cake, David clapped Ryan on the back, laughing as Rehea twirled in her sparkly dress. Normal. Happy. The last normal moment they'd ever have. Then, silence. Emma went to check on Rehea at bedtime. The door was slightly ajar. The bed was made. The Hello Kitty pajamas she'd laid out were still folded. The window. Locked. No scuff marks. No broken glass. Just an empty room where a little girl should have been. Panic set in fast. Neighbors flooded the streets with flashlights. Police cars lined the block, their radios crackling with static. Officers moved methodically, too methodically, asking questions that already felt pointless. Was she upset? Any recent arguments? As if a child who just won a pageant would run away. The theories came hard and fast. A stranger? Castle Rock had its share of drifters passing through. A sex offender? The nearest registered one lived 20 miles away, but wasn't that always the first suspicion? An abduction? Then why no ransom call? No demands? The bedroom became a shrine. Police tape cordoned it off, but the rest of the house descended into chaos, boots trampling the carpet, coffee cups left on tables, fingerprints smudged on door handles. By sunrise, critical details were already lost under the weight of good intentions. Emma sat numb on the couch, staring at Rehea's cereal bowl still in the sink. How could someone take her and leave everything else exactly as it was? David's voice cracked as he begged officers, "She's 7. She wouldn't just leave." But the clock kept ticking. Have you ever seen a case where the obvious clues were overlooked right from the start? Comment below with what you think investigators missed here. Days bled into weeks. The posters, Rehea's smiling face under bold, missing, letters, curled at the edges on telephone poles. Emma stopped sleeping. Instead, she wandered the house at night, running her fingers over Rehea's things like they were sacred relics. The half-finished drawing of a rainbow taped to the fridge. The doll left mid-play on the windowsill, its plastic hand still warm from sunlight. The cereal bowl, washed but never put away, as if keeping it in the sink meant Rehea might come back for breakfast. David buried himself in work, avoiding the silence of the house. But Ryan? He vanished in plain sight, showing up late to search parties, his eyes hollow. When Emma asked why he'd kept a box of Rehea's old toys in his garage, he mumbled, "Just couldn't let go yet." The police had moved on. That's when Frank Morrison arrived. A private investigator with a reputation for finding what others missed, Frank didn't deal in false hope. He studied the case files with a surgeon's focus. The Denver Mall sighting. A different girl with similar curls. The roadside diner waitress who swore she'd served Rehea pancakes. A foggy memory twisted by guilt. Dead ends, but Frank noticed what the cops hadn't. "You searched the woods, the highways," he said, flipping through photos of the Carlilele home. "But attics and basements? Those are places people hide things they can't face." Emma's breath caught. The attic had been ignored, just a storage space for holiday decorations and old tax files. The basement? A graveyard of broken furniture. No one had thought to look there for answers. Sometimes, the answer is closer than anyone dares to look. Spring 1997. 3 years of hollow mornings. 3 years of passing Rehea's untouched bedroom. Emma finally climbed the attic stairs, dust mask in hand, not expecting answers, just needing to move forward. The air was thick with memories. Cardboard boxes slumped against each other like tired ghosts. Then, a flash of pink beneath a collapsed tower of old magazines. Emma froze. The Hello Kitty bowl sat cradled in yellowed newspaper, its surface speckled with black mold. Identical to the one in their kitchen. But this one wasn't clean. This one reeked, a sweet, rotting odor that made Emma's stomach lurch. Her hands shook as she lifted it. Something crusted the rim. Something dark. Then she saw the box beside it. A single label in David's handwriting, Rehea, school notes. The cardboard felt damp. Her vision blurred as the attic seemed to spin. Flashback of Rehea giggling on the attic stairs, playing hide and seek. "You'll never find me, Mommy." The memory burned. Forensics arrived within the hour. The bowl was bagged, photographed, taken. Days later, the report came, biological material present. No match to family DNA. Emma stood in the basement that night, flashlight beam bouncing off storage bins. Another discovery, a third Hello Kitty bowl, pristine in its packaging. Why so many? Why hidden? If you were in Emma's shoes, would you have opened that box sooner, or would the pain have kept you away? Let us know your thoughts. The lab results changed everything. Forensic analysts traced the mold patterns. The bowl had been used weeks after Rehea vanished. Someone had fed her. In their home. While search parties scoured forests, while cameras flashed at vigils, while her parents wept on national TV, she'd been right there. Hidden. The attic's low ceiling showed scratch marks near the dormer window. The basement's unfinished storage room had just enough space for a child to sit, if they stayed very quiet. No fingerprints, no fibers, just that single bowl, telling a story no one wanted to hear. Rehea hadn't been snatched by a stranger. Detectives re-interviewed every family member. David's alibi held, barely. His handwriting on the school notes box meant nothing, proved less. Ryan's unexplained absences those weeks. Coincidence. Emma's grief. Too raw to be an act. But the math was undeniable. Someone knew the house well enough to hide a child undetected. Someone had access to Rehea's favorite bowls. Someone stayed calm while the world searched. Castle Rock erupted. Neighbors who'd baked casseroles now whispered behind curtains. Reporters circled like vultures, drawing parallels to another little blonde girl in Colorado. Could this be another JonBenet? The worst part? The ordinary horror of it all. No dramatic break-in. No shadowy predator. Just a house with too many secrets, and a child who might have been saved if anyone had thought to look upstairs sooner. She wasn't taken far. She was lost in a house full of love, yet completely alone. The Carlilele house stood empty for months before the "for sale" sign went up. No buyers came, just curious onlookers peering at windows where a little girl once waved. Emma and David shattered, then rebuilt themselves differently. They lobbied state legislators with haunted eyes and trembling hands, demanding new protocols. Mandatory attic/basement searches within first 48 hours of disappearances. Standardized forensic sweeps of personal items in familial cases. A child's last used object, like a cereal bowl, to be bagged as primary evidence. Their testimony changed 3 laws in Colorado. Ryan stood beside them at press conferences, but his smiles never reached his eyes. At night, he'd drive past the old house, remembering how Rehea used to beg him for secret Uncle pancakes in that attic, the same attic where her bowl would later condemn the truth. The new owners allowed one concession, a small bronze plaque near the attic stairs, its inscription polished weekly by someone anonymous. For the light we lost. And the truth that found us. The case closed without arrests, but not without answers. In the end, it wasn't DNA technology or detective work that cracked the silence, it was a $5 cereal bowl, waiting years for someone to ask the right questions. Why were there 3? Who moved them? What else had they touched? The biggest tragedies aren't always in what was taken, but in what was overlooked. Which part of this story broke your heart the most? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe if you believe every child's voice deserves to be heard, even when it takes years to find it.